What's good? It's Sam here, and I wanted to talk about the SARMs legislation that is put in place, that was proposed in early spring of 2018, and what you can do about it if you have a opposition or if you're for it. If you're watching this, you are probably opposed to this legislation, which will make the DEA in charge of regulating making them a controlled substance in terms of SARMs. Now, it was proposed by Orrin Hatchett. That's a good name for him, Hatchett. His name is Orrin Hatch back in April of 2018. He is actually no longer in the Senate. He's not a senator anymore. But I wanted to show you, I made a video on that, which I will put a link in the cards or at the end of the video or something along those lines, or in the description, that if you want to watch that. But in this, I wanted to show you how to look up your senator and what might be something you can say to them. And it is 10:30 on a Tuesday evening, so I will not be calling now, but I will be calling tomorrow or the next day during the day, and I will try to film that so you get to see exactly how I handle it and what you can do if you oppose this piece of legislation. But before I get into that, make sure you press that subscribe button. It helps the channel out. It tells YouTube's SEO, which is search engine optimization, to put this video and channel in front of other people who might enjoy it. Also, if you like this video or found value in it, then you press that like button at the end of the video. Okay, now to get into it. So, to look up who your senator is, and I will put a link for this in the description. It is just the www.senate.gov, and then there's a bunch of other shit afterwards. I'll put a link in the description, but I'll show you what I'm doing so that way you get to have the information when you do click through to it, and it comes up with the phone number. So when you do call, it is just going to be something along the lines of like, hi, my name is Sam Stolt. I live in blah, 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 and the zip code is this. So-and-so is my representative, and I oppose, and give them the name of the bill. I oppose S2742, SARMs Control Act of 2018, because I think it, whatever. I don't even think you have to give a reason, but just something along those lines. Hi, my name is Sam Stolt, and representative blah, blah, blah. I oppose, and I think the senator, whoever your senator is, you can give them the name, should, oppose this piece of legislation. Give them the piece of legislation. I'll also put the name of the legislation down below. If we can actually get enough people to call across the country. This is mainly for the United States. So if you're watching this outside of the United States and you know somebody in the United States who might be interested in this, or you are in the United States and you know somebody who is interested or has been researching with SARMs, share this video with them. If enough of us do this, we can actually make an impact on how these go forward. And I don't think enough of this is talked about. So real quick synopsis of Orrin Hatch. So I wanted to look up this piece of legislation. So I dug it up and started looking into it, and then I saw Orrin Hatch, who was the senator from Utah. And then I was like, let me check out this dude. So I went to his website. And then the funny thing kicked in. Like, I'm in finance. I have been in finance for several years, and just finance in general is interesting to me. So a lot of the times when you see things playing out, if you follow kind of the money, you get to see what's actually happening. So with that being the mindset and context of how I was thinking about it, I decided to do a little Googling on Orrin Hatch in terms of campaign contributions, right? And then I get to see, like, maybe that'll tell more of a story for why this piece of legislation was put forth. I have been researching with SARMs for several years. I believe it was around 2013 when I first learned about and started researching with SARMs. And some of the claims that are made on his website are just very superficial and inflammatory in the sense that it's exaggerated to the sense of to try to get people to have some type of reaction to it just because it's coming from a senator who, if he actually looked at any of the data, you can see that it is not supported by a lot of the data out there in terms of how dangerous some of these compounds are. If you look at the data, it just doesn't support these claims at all. And it's just the senator, and I'm sure goes across the board for many of the senators across the United States. The things that they're saying are similar to how the media, the old media, like the CNN, the CNBC, Fox, and all these other media outlets are viewed in today's society, where it's viewed with almost a grain of salt in terms of anything that you hear from these organizations, because you know that there's probably something else behind the scene. Or you have some people who just don't have any idea what the fuck they're talking about, and they are told to, write a story on something or read a teleprompter, and they don't really have any fucking clue what they're talking about. Which is nothing against them. That's the game they chose to play in. But anyways, to get back to the point. So I found the campaign contributions for this gentleman, and he received almost $3 million from the pharmaceutical companies. $3 million. I mean, think about this for a second, right? If I was like, hey, I'll give you $3 million, right? You just have to propose and back this piece of legislation. Oh, don't worry. I've already written most of it for you. So you just got to put your name on it, right? And then, like, here's actually a press release, right? Like, I'm not saying this happened, but if I was working for a pharmaceutical company as a representative to influence politics, that's how I would do it, right? If I want to make things happen and it makes things easier for a senator, like, here's $3 million, and oh, by the way, I actually already kind of wrote the registration for you, like, just an idea of like how I think it would be beneficial. You know what I mean? Because these things are super dangerous, and this might be like a template of a press release that you could release. If you wanted to, but don't feel any obligation. I mean, it's just $3 million. Like, I'm not trying to push you to do anything, right? Okay. So, with that being said, let's get back into this. I'm going to show you now how to look up who your senator is. This is the website right here. Just hold that still for a second. And then it just comes up like this. So, if you're in the United States, you remember, if you know somebody else in the United States who enjoys researching with SARMs, or know somebody who might think about researching with them, or who might actually take action, just share this video with them. I think if enough of us do this, we can actually help influence the way some of these things are taking place and bring more light into how some of these pieces of legislation are actually brought forth. And I think that enough people their bullshit meters are high enough in 2019 to realize that something's up, and just the $3 million is not necessarily enough of a reason to make something that can help so many people banned and make it much more difficult for a lot of people to use in a legal way. Think about weed, right? And why and how that came about. We weren't at the time, and the internet wasn't around then, but I have a funny feeling that very similar thing, but way more backhanded and way more bribery style happened back then. Anyways, so literally all I did was click this drop down here, and I just went down, clicked Massachusetts because that's where I live, and so these are my representatives. So I will just be calling both. Class, if you look at the class over here, that doesn't matter. That just means there's 3 classes in the Senate. Because there's terms of 6 years, so one class, roughly 1/3 of the Senate gets reelected every 2 years. So that way, if something were happening, it doesn't change the entire composition of the Senate every single time it gets reelected. Anyways. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments. Remember, if we share this with enough people, then we can actually get this piece of legislation turned down so that nothing actually ever comes of it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you press that like button. That's going to tell YouTube to show this video to other people who might find this interesting. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Peace.